If you are interested in videos filled with comedy and joy, you would be better off watching something else online. For the video you are watching with your two eyes right now, assuming of course that you are watching this video and that you have only two eyes, is neither comedic nor joyful. You would be much happier watching something else on this miserable corporate platform known as YouTube. Perhaps a video in which a pair of grown men play video games together, or one about a bespectacled man wearing an ill-fitted suit yelling in a disproportionate rage over the Littlest Elf's ghastly movie adaptation. Either of these options would be preferable to this review, which contains nothing but sadness, cynicism, and a bleak reminder of the worst that mankind has to offer. A little like the tale of the Baudelaire orphans. Violet, Klaus and Sunny were a magnificent trio of siblings, each of them intelligent, resourceful and kind of heart. And their lives would have been just as wonderful if it weren't for the tragic demise of their parents and the unexpected arrival of the loathsome Count Olaf. A greedy, atrocious excuse of a human being who strived to get his hands on the Baudelaire family fortune by any means possible. And no matter how many times the Baudelaire children tried to escape from his clutches, Olaf would always follow them wherever they went and make their already bleak and miserable lives even more bleak and miserable. For 13 agonising novels, these orphans played a dire game of cat and mouse against their most relentless tormentor, often putting a stop to his evil schemes in the nick of time, yet unable to completely bring him to justice, no thanks to the other adults around them, who often were either too clueless and useless to see through Olaf's masquerade, or just as wicked as him. And whom do we have to thank, or perhaps curse, for this depressing literary sequence? Only a mysterious individual known as Lemony Snicket, who devoted the rest of his existence towards documenting the Baudelaire's melancholy misadventures while pining over his long-departed darling Beatrice. And to think that all of these books were aimed at children. But I'm afraid it's true. For as dark as the series of unfortunate events was, it also taught kids some rather important lessons. Namely that most grown-ups are either total cowards or lying bastards, that the world is filled with burning questions which can never be fully resolved, and that sometimes in life you have to do morally questionable things in order to survive. And it is for those reasons why I implore you all not to watch this review, because even if you like the sound of a macabre, depressing world that makes Roald Dahl look like Doris Day, not even you will be able to stomach the horror of its 2004 movie adaptation. The Series of Unfortunate Events movie was produced by the channel that won't leave good enough die, and it shows. For the black comedy and underlying sense of doom that made the original story so despicable is almost completely watered down in favour of clashing performances from the cast, an over-the-top visual style lacking in real substance, and rushed storytelling as part of a dire attempt to cram 3 whole books into a 90-minute film. Such a cinematic travesty has remained mostly forgotten since its release, but now that a new Netflix adaptation has arrived, it is currently my duty to dive into the belly of the beast. A phrase which here means facing an ugly cash cow movie head on because there's no other means of destroying it at present, and discover just how this film from 12 years ago turned a frighteningly memorable series of books into something unfortunate. Nickelodeon Movies is responsible for some of the worst so-called kids films ever to torment our existence, and it brings me no joy to tell you that this miserable movie is so awful and unworthy of any acknowledgement by any normal human being. You would have to be a deranged lunatic to continue watching this video. Unless you are as unhappy as I am, in which case stay and continue, but at your own cost. This is Poindexta, and this is a series of unfortunate events. You have been warned. What in the world? Oh dear. My apologies, viewers, but it appears that we've stumbled across the wrong movie. Such a rookie mistake on my part. I knew I should have checked the DVD before pressing play. On the plus side, this probably means I won't have to do this review after all.
I'm sorry to say that this is not the movie you will be watching.
Oh, curses! I knew it was too soon to be happy. But no, the film actually begins with a voiceover from Lemony Snicket, played here by Jude Law.
If you like stories about clever, and reasonably attractive orphans, suspicious fires, carnivorous leeches, Italian food, and secret organisations.
Then go read the original books, because they're far more terrifying and intellectually stimulating than this Happy Meal nonsense. We get a brief introduction to the three Baudelaire children. The eldest is Violet, a teenage inventor who always ties her hair up whenever she thinks of an idea. Then Klaus, whose love of reading has blessed him with an encyclopedic knowledge. A phrase which here means being able to remember absolutely anything about every single thing in the whole wide world, because Google apparently doesn't exist in this universe.
Sunny, the youngest, had a different interest. She liked to bite things and had 4 sharp teeth. There was very little that Sunny did not enjoy biting.
Don't you put it in your mouth, don't you put it in your mouth, don't you stuff it in your face, don't stuff it in your face.
So Violet, Klaus and Sunny are having a lovely day trip together in what appears to be a former nuclear testing facility when they get an unexpected visit from the family spanker, Mr. Poe.
Children, I'm afraid I must inform you of an extremely unfortunate event.
I sold your parents out to Lord Voldemort. Wait! Wrong adaptation!
I'm very, very sorry to tell you this, but your parents have perished in a fire that's destroyed your entire home.
If you have ever lost someone very important to you, then you already know how it feels. And if you haven't, you cannot possibly imagine it.
You're right. I can only imagine how these children must be feeling. Because none of them show any emotional response after finding out that their parents have died. Sure, one can argue that they're traumatised and don't know how to act, and they would be right about the last point, because whoever's playing these kids here really don't know how to act. Not every child actor can be Tatum O'Neal or Macaulay Culkin, this much I know, but it's truly fascinating to see how little effort went into these on-screen portrayals of the Baudelaires. These children were incredible characters in the original story, filled with interesting quirks and unique in their own way. You always wanted them to survive Count Olaf's wicked schemes because you found them relatable and you understood their plight. But here, these kids react to a fire destroying their house and killing their parents as if it were on the same level of inconvenience as discovering that your milk's gone off and you don't have enough change to buy a fresh pint. Oh no, our books! I do hope Mother and Father remembered to take the garbage out before they burnt to death. But Klaus discovers something rather unusual among the wreckage.
As Klaus now realised, the smallest discovery would send his mind reeling with questions.
Wait a minute, is that VFT? Ye gods! A reference to the original books? I can only pray that things will get interesting from now on. I can only pray.
What was this spyglass hidden in his father's desk? Were there other secrets about their parents' lives yet to be revealed?
A spyglass on their parents' desk? They've never seen that before. Wow, that's so unusual and suspicious. It means absolutely nothing at all. Pepe Sylvia was a more convincing conspiracy than this. Speaking of spyglasses, Rob book series. Mr. Poe tells the children he's taking care of the family inheritance until they come of age, and that in the meantime they are to remain in the care of their closest living relative. This CGI wolf. Worst big budget remake of Walk Like a Man ever. Oh, but don't worry, these kids are in for a fate worse than Howie Mandel's ego-induced overacting.
Well, hello, hello, hello. I am your beloved Count Olaf.
Jim Carrey's ego-induced overacting.
May you find solace within the womb-like warmth of its downy bloom.
Nice to meet you too, Count Olaf, although I couldn't help but notice upon entering your home that everything seems to be in a bit of a mess. Clearly someone has been chewing the scenery. And I'm not talking about that dubiously animated wolf from earlier. Yeah, because Carrey just wasn't content with only butchering one iconic character from children's literature, here we see him turning the most frightening villain from your childhood into yet another one of his walking, talking, real-life cartoon characters. And this one so over the top, it somehow becomes boring by default. Wait, what? Oh goodness, I'm sorry, just go back there for a second. That's his tattoo. That's supposed to be Count Olaf's infamous tattoo of an eye on his left ankle. Oh dear God, no! When I first read the book and saw the description of his tattoo, I thought it was going to look cool, badass, or terrifying. A watchful eye, always seeing the children wherever they went. But here, it looks like he just scribbled on his ankle with a biro. Look at it, viewers. just take a good hard look at it. Whenever I think about all those miserable times that an interesting part of a story ended up lost in translation in the movie adaptation, my mind will always cast back to that tattoo, for it is without a doubt the laziest attempt at visually portraying the most memorable aspect of a fictional character on screen. Why aren't you watching something else? Need I remind you that this is not a happy video?
I must say, you're a gloomy-looking bunch. Why so glum?
Our parents just died.
But you don't even look like you're upset. You don't look like you're feeling anything. Why can't you be more topsy-turvy, over the top, just like me? Mr. Carrey, we're in the middle of shooting. No, you will do as I say. I'm Jim Carrey, at the top of my game. I'm the greatest physical comedian of my generation. Watch me make these stupid noises. Count Olaf all but admits to the children that he's only adopted them so he can steal their fortune, and proves just how evil he is by forcing the kids to sleep in a dark and grotty room and making them do nothing but chores all day while he does whatever the hell this is.
I think you might have to turn it up. Is anybody out there?
Viewers, Count Olaf may look like an idiot and act like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot. My apologies for continuing to dwell on how Olaf is portrayed, but if Jim Carrey can waste everybody's time, then so can I. He's supposed to be this sinister, threatening figure, a master of disguise, a maestro of manipulation, yet he never feels particularly scary in this film because of how ridiculous he acts in every scene that he's in. And Carrey doesn't really blend into this character the same way he does with his other roles, so it's hard to take him seriously when you can't unsee how Olaf is just so obviously him wearing makeup and a funny costume.
I chose to open my heart to you two lovely children. All I ask in return is that you do each and everything that pops into my head while I enjoy the enormous fortune your parents left behind.
You can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it.
No.
Why, you little... Oh! It's time you children learned a little respect.
Put her down.
Monster!
Something about that fell off, didn't it? The sudden juxtaposition between Olaf's cruel actions and oddball behaviour hasn't been given any real build-up, not only because of how much of the original story stayed chopped, but also, of course, due to Carrey's, for lack of a better word, performance.
Monster!
And no, I don't care that Olaf just hit Klaus. Perhaps a smack on the face is just what his child needs in order to act better.
This is not home. Home is where your parents put you to bed at night, where they teach you to ride a bike, or where they get all choked up on your first day of school. This is not home.
Or maybe not.
How could they do this to us?
They're just bad people.
Not them. Mom and Dad.
Klaus?
What, Violet, you're thinking it too. How could they?
How could Mum and Dad do this to us? This is not home. And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. On the day that Olaf receives full custody, he drives to the Last Chance General Store, yet another wasted reference to the books, and locks the children inside the car, which just so happens to have been parked directly on the railroad crossing next to the store in the path of an oncoming train.
Klaus? You've read books on trains? What do we do?
Oh, how cute! A bookshelf in his head! It's no mind palace, but if anything reminds me of Sherlock, then it will suffice. Managed to avoid reenacting the ending of Anna Karenina, and Mr. Poe soon arrives at the scene, immediately whisking the children away from Olaf, but not for the reason that they think.
I'm sorry, Count Olaf, but allowing a child of Sonny's age to drive a car is simply not good parenting.
He tried to kill us.
Let us not exaggerate, Klaus. The vehicle was not even in gear.
Well, if there's one thing this movie's gotten right so far, it's that Mr. Poe is, and always shall be, an incompetent moron. I find such adaptational faithfulness to be both reassuring and disheartening. The orphans are then sent to live with their Uncle Monty, played by Billy Connolly, an eccentric yet kindly herpetologist who's preparing for a trip to Peru to show off a snake that he discovered to his scientific peers.
The incredibly deadly viper.
Oh, I'm sorry. My ribbon just jammed. Let me just adjust it here.
That fourth wall gag was forced and lazy, and you know it.
You're all right. It can't possibly harm you.
The incredibly deadly viper couldn't have possibly harmed her?
It's a big softy. One of the least harmful and most friendly creatures in the animal kingdom. I only called him that to play a prank on those stuffed shirts down at the Herpetological Society.
Oh, it was only a prank. Congratulations, Monty. These already traumatised children thought they were going to die, and now you'll probably have your doctorate stripped away by the society. Nice going, mister. I must confess, Billy Connolly's appearance in the film is probably the most depressing sight in cinematic history. Not because it's bad, but quite the opposite as a matter of fact. Billy Connolly is honestly the best thing in the entire movie. He's the only one in the cast who seems to be making an actual effort whenever he's on screen, despite his role being so small, and it's clear that he's genuinely trying to give his character some sort of depth. Look at his brief moments where he's playing the auto harp. That wasn't in the original story, of course, yet Connolly probably decided to work it in anyway, because why not? And his acting in the same scene is superb.
You had children?
Oh, yes. And a wife and a home. Until the fire. I may know better than anyone what you're going through, but it's going to be all right. We'll be among people who understand us, people who are like us, people who appreciate unique children who can read and invent and bite things.
Uncle Monty, why are you doing all this for us?
Isn't that what family does?
Don't mind me, viewers. I'm just taking in this sincere, heartwarming scene from an otherwise nauseating movie. If only things would stay this way and we would never have to see the obnoxious visage of Jim Carrey ever again.
Hello. I am looking for Dr. Montgomery.
Oh, damn this film! So Olaf shows up in disguise as Monty's assistant, calling himself Stefano and speaking in a fake Italian accent. And even though this is exactly what happens in his story, his obviously lousy imitation is so awkward to watch, you'd think that this was just another one of Carey's overzealous extemporizations. A phrase which here means when a once popular comedian thinks that he's too good for a children's movie and so tries to improve the script a bit by improvising on the spot, regardless of whether his farcical performance matches with the gloomy aesthetic of the film. Try saying that 3 times fast.
I've been bitten 43,700 times. Mostly on the face. A lot of this has been reconstructed. But I think they did one heck of a job, even though my mustache is a tad askew.
Shut up!
Children are strange and foreign to me. I never really was one. I know that they are an important part of the ecosystem, and that's all it takes. That's all it takes is one time.
Good God, we're not even halfway through this disaster, and I am already losing interest. If this film were as dark as it so claims to be, then someone really ought to get murdered by now.
Uncle Monty?
Monty, he was the only saving grace. Great, now that Billy Connolly's gone, all we've got left is a one-scene cameo from Cedric the Entertainer as a police detective.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, who woke me up at 9 in the morning for this?
Cedric the Entertainer's exact words upon finding out just how small his part in the movie was. Olaf tries to pin Monty's death on the incredibly deadly viper, but Sonny is able to show everyone that the viper is actually nice and friendly.
Damn it. This was such a good character.
No, Carey, it really wasn't. But Olaf runs away before anyone can stop him, and Foster Baudelaires are forced to stay with yet another quirky guardian, Aunt Josephine, played by Meryl Streep, an obsessive lover of grammar and human trigger warning.
Chilled cucumber soup. I never cook anything hot. I'm afraid that the stove will burst into flames. Klaus, what are you doing? Napkins? Oh, napkins are here. Come away from the fridge. If it falls, it'll crush you flat.
I find it hard to believe that this woman is now considered to be a threat to free speech. Meryl Streep, that is. Josephine, on the other hand, can crawl back to her safe space. Josephine shows the kids her old photo album as one particular picture catches their eye.
Uncle Monty? You knew Uncle Monty?
Wait, is that our parents?
Was this some sort of club? Why do you all have these spyglasses?
Wait, this film was actually focusing on the secret society this early on? In the books, the whole VFD subplot was more restrained and subtle because Lemony Snicket knew that the children reading his stories could actually use their brains and slowly figure out the mystery for themselves. But there's no such intricacy here. It's just, oh yeah, the Baudelaire family were all members of a cult. And yet at the same time, the movie doesn't even go into great detail about whatever happened in the past, so it just comes across as being strange and secretive for the sake of it. It's simply not logical. Why introduce this big twist in the very first instalment of a potential movie franchise when you've already cut out 50% of the material from the books you were supposed to be adapting? This film really isn't as intelligent as it thinks it is. Oh, and Count Olaf's back again, Jim Carrey's still embarrassing, etc, etc, etc.
Oh, that there was only my fault. Hey, what? Can't tell you how sorry I is for running into your sister there like that.
Why, perhaps it's just the ramblings of an expert fisherman, but grammar is the #1 most important thing in this here world to me.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
You can certainly turn a phrase.
I can flip it up and rub it down, too. Of course, that would be entirely up to you, Mum.
I'm kink-shaming the pair of them. Josephine abandons the children in the middle of a busy marketplace to go fuck a man she just met, like any normal guardian would. But the Baudelaires make a shocking discovery when they arrive back home later that evening.
By the time we read this, my life will be at its end. I know you children may not understand the side life of a dowager. Dowager has one D.
It doesn't matter, keep going.
What would have led to this desperate act? Act is spelled with a C.
It's a suicide note. Why are you checking your spelling?
She said her greatest joy in life was grammar. Why is she making all these mistakes?
Depression is an ugly beast, Klaus. Sometimes even the most pedantic people in the world give in to their own inner suffering. You insensitive little prick.
As my last will and testament, I leave you 3 in the care of Captain Sham, a kind and honorable man. That was his plan. He made her write this note and then he pushed her out the window.
Oh. Well, never mind then. I guess now Violet's joining the tinfoil hat club. Klaus deciphers the code left in Josephine's message and discovers that she is really at the Curdled Cave. But then a hurricane suddenly arrives to destroy the house because things just weren't dramatic enough already. Phew, that was close. That obviously computer-generated door could have killed them. Was that the Aflac duck? What is the Aflac duck doing in the movie adaptation of a series of unfortunate events? We, of course, know that you should never, ever, 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 ever include a pointless cameo from a brand mascot inside a major Hollywood children's movie. Ever. Unless, of course, that movie happens to be The Littlest Elf, the sequel, or some other pile of cinematic hogwash. But a series of unfortunate events? Really? Anyway, the Baudelaires manage to escape from the world's deadliest PS2 cutscene and sail to Aunt Josephine's hiding place, but she's too scared to leave.
And Josephine, you have to come back with us.
Oh, no. It's much too dangerous. Children, I'm very
Too dangerous? You're our guardian. You're supposed to take care of us.
I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Oh, let her rot, Violet. You children have demonstrated more than enough times that you are beyond capable of looking after yourselves. Just leave this cowardly witch to die alone, go kill Olaf, and then spend the rest of your lives living together in a utopian ecstasy. A phrase which here means the reviewer's fantasized version of the Baudelaire's ultimate fate, conjured up in placement of having to watch any more of this barbaric movie. Not that it matters anyway, because all of a sudden, killer leeches attack their boats and Olaf arrives to claim the kids for himself once more.
You're not gonna touch Aunt Josephine and she's gonna tell everyone what happened.
No. I won't tell anybody anything, I promise. Please don't throw me to the leeches. You can have the fortune. You can have the children. Josephine!
Go to hell, Aunt Josephine. I'm sure Olaf will give you a one-way ticket.
No, Aunt Josephine! Aunt Josephine! You can't do it! Aunt Josephine!
Yay! I've never been so pleased to see an old woman die. Except for that one time. Let's move on. Olaf and his troupe of actors/minions immediately stage a play called The Marvellous Marriage, casting Violet and himself as the bride and groom, after discovering the legal loophole stating that if two people are married, they're entitled to any money owed by either spouse. He even convinces an actual judge to perform in his play and unknowingly officiate the marriage.
Violet's only 14. She can't be legally married.
She can if she has the permission of her guardian. And who's that? Oh, yes, me! Once you say I do and sign the marriage certificate, you'll really be my loverly bride. Cook and clean and massage my bunions and clip my thick yellow toenails.
I know this all looks very creepy, but don't worry, Emily Browning's saving the super rapey stuff for Zack Snyder. On an unrelated note, one of Count Olaf's henchwomen is played by Jennifer Coolidge. Because reminding me of the existence of Legally Blonde 2 is a surefire way to make my ever-withering faith in this film dwindle even further down the abyss.
Who's ready to discharge?
Klaus sneaks off during the play to go rescue Sunny, who's been held hostage inside a cage at the top of a tower next to Olaf's house, while Violet resigns herself to her fate in what is in all honesty a very out-of-character move for her. Holy Daniel Handler! Count Olaf was really Bill Cipher this entire time?
Right hand, please.
Wait a minute. In the original version of this scene from the first book, Violet managed to fool Count Olaf by signing the marriage certificate with her left hand when she is in fact right-handed, so that way the signature would be deemed invalid because it wasn't in the bride's own hand. It was a little silly, I admit, but at least there she managed to save herself. In this film, she gets reduced to a damsel in distress for Klaus to save during the climax. Way to do your strong female characters justice, adaptation. Jesus fucking Christ. I wonder how badly this movie can possibly fuck up the source material now.
I'm very, very sorry to tell you this, but your parents have perished in a fire that's destroyed your entire home.
These things don't just happen.
Incredible. This film is outright stated that the Baudelaire's parents didn't die in some mere accident and that Count Olaf murdered them. Okay, I know that this Count Olaf is about as subtle as Jared Leto's Joker, but in the original books, the fate of the Baudelaire's family wasn't so blatantly given away. I can't believe that whoever made this film decided to ruin the big, important, subtle mystery subplot. I don't even care I'm saying subtle twice, because this is bullshit. Oh, come on. Don't you have any idea how this sort of narrative structure works? And just... Oh, let's move on. This is not a happy video, I did warn you. And then one of Olaf's goons arrives to stop Klaus, and an epic fight between the pair ensues. Or not.
Violet and I are indeed a blissfully wedded couple. We were married in an official ceremony with official and legal vows in front of a bona fide justice of the peace.
Oh my God, what have I done?
Don't feel bad, Catherine. You're going to appear in a much better adaptation of this series over a decade from now.
These children tried to tell you, but you wouldn't listen. No one ever listens to children.
Tell that to the Electoral College. Fortunately, Klaus used the eye-shaped window to reflect a beam of sunlight and burn the marriage certificate, saving Violet and defeating Count Olaf once and for all. Right?
Count Olaf was captured for crimes too numerous to mention. It was the judge's decree that Olaf be made to suffer every hardship that he forced upon the children. If only justice were as kind. Count Olaf vanished after a jury of his peers overturned his sentence.
Oh, come on! That was a cop-out! You didn't even show his escape on screen! But you did show a brief montage of Jim Carrey doing even more stupid nonsense, which probably only existed because the clips would look funny for the trailer. Laziness, my name is Nickelodeon. And so this regrettable reinterpretation concludes with the orphans making one last visit to their former home when they discover an old letter written to them by their parents.
One day, when you're older, you will learn all about the people we have befriended and the dangers we have faced. At times, the world can seem an unfriendly and sinister place, but believe us when we say that there is much more good in it than bad, and what might seem to be a series of unfortunate events may, in fact, be the first steps of a journey.
Mr. and Mrs. Baudelaire, let your children join the same secret society that will eventually lead you both to your untimely deaths. Makes about as much sense as Harry Potter letting his offspring go to Hogwarts. Is passing the torch of childhood trauma a recurring theme in these kids' books?
I am happy to say the Baudelaires were very fortunate indeed.
Except for the part about their parents' murderer still being on the loose, as well as the bittersweet fact that these children will never know true peace or happiness for the rest of their lives. Very fortunate indeed. That was a series of unfortunate events, and that was a load of pine tree sycamolivia directio temexity. Oh my dear sweet masochistic viewers, you should have turned this video off when you had the chance. If it wasn't for me and my poor life decisions, you would never have been forced to witness such a tiresome and uninteresting film adaptation. Where was its faithfulness to its source material? Where was the surrealism, the darkness, the subtle wit? Gone. All gone. That's not to say, however, there aren't some aspects of the movie worth praising. The set designs look very vibrant and creative, so long as you like that pretentious, post-Burton, faux gothic aesthetic. And there's no denying that Jim Carrey is indeed the most memorable part of this whole mess. But alas, these mere competencies do not justify the mostly mismatched casting, the uneven tone of the script, and the blatant erasure of pretty much everything about Lemony Snicket's original story that made it interesting. It's not the worst children's movie ever made, but it certainly pales in comparison to its extraordinarily anarchic source material because of how miserably mainstream it is. It's now Netflix's turn to reignite this series' fire, and though there's a more likely chance this flame will burn brighter, nothing will ever make me forget its most unfortunate predecessor. I cannot wait to bury this DVD deep underground where it won't bother anyone ever again. Except perhaps for a small family of moles. But before I retreat once more to my self-imposed exile, I can't help but imagine what the Baudelaires would make of this movie if they were watching it for themselves. If Violet could see how her on-screen portrayal was so weak during the climax, she would tie her hair up in a ribbon while thinking up an alternative means of escaping her plight. If Klaus could observe the stilted performance of the young man playing him, he would remind himself of all the old books in his parents' library about dramatic acting and how to behave in front of a camera, while taking mental notes of what this young man could do in order to improve his performance. Sunny would bite the projectionist on the ankle.
If you don't know just what it is, remember, boys and girls, don't put it in your mouth.
I've always liked Sunny. This is Poindexta, and this is the end of the review. With all due respect.